Welcome back to another episode of Life with Elliot. It's episode 2, and today we're doing a photo critique. So about a week ago on Instagram, I asked you guys to submit some photos for me to critique, and there were so many submissions that I'm not going to be able to go through all of them today, unfortunately. But I have selected a handful to kind of talk about and give feedback on, and I've chosen them because I think the feedback could apply to a lot of people. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of different types of photographers submitting their work, which is awesome. We got people shooting on iPhones, we have professional photographers, and we also have photography from different genres. So we got landscape, we have portraits, we have street photography, humanitarian, all different kinds, and we're gonna explore all of them today. Now, as a disclaimer, I do want to put out the fact that these are just my opinions and my thoughts, and the feedback I give are just tips and tricks that I've picked up over the past couple of years as a professional photographer. So take everything with a grain of salt and just know that everything that I'm saying is with love, and I'm not saying that anything is good or bad, right? Because your opinion is different from my opinion, and you might relate to a subject where I don't. So it's all just opinion, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the first image. So our first image comes from Grant, and I'm going to put all their usernames on somewhere on the screen here. And I love this image. I think it's super powerful. I love it. The reflection's perfect. The colors are great. And it just looks like it could belong on a Windows wallpaper. So I think the only thing that I would point out is that this guy right here, his body's kind of getting chopped off by the mountains in the background. So I would love to see him a little bit higher up, like maybe right here, and maybe farther out as well. So like if he was right here, that could be a little bit more prominent for his body, and also maybe try to get him to like run in this direction. So kind of have him super small and kind of look up towards this. So it kind of creates like a leading line kind of towards this area here. But yeah, also pro tip guys, if you're wanting to shoot reflections like this, I would suggest shooting during sunrise, because lakes are usually more calm during sunrise, as well as shooting towards shallower waters. So I'm assuming this is probably on a beach somewhere where the water is very shallow, and that's going to make it easier to catch clean reflections. And also obviously you don't want a very windy day. All right, so that's Grant. I love this image, and let's move on to the next. All right, so we have a shot from Patagonia, I think, shot by Raphael, and I love this image. I think it's very strong. We got some good leading lines coming in. I would love to see this mountain, I think it's Patagonia, right here. I would love to put it just smack dab in the middle, and I would love to kind of play around with the luminance a little bit, because I'm noticing these little like outlines around the clouds, and that usually happens when you have when you shift around the luminance too much. Also, there's a lot of like dead space right here, so I don't know if I love this kind of dead grass area. And also I love to, like I said, put the mountain right just smack dab in the middle. So I kind of played around with it a little bit, and I created this here where I kind of just shifted the mountain using Photoshop, and I kind of cropped it in just a little bit. So I made it a little bit tighter. I think it was a little bit too wide for my taste, and it would be really cool to see what it looked like with a 7200 or like a really nice telephoto lens, just kind of cropping in right on the mountain right here. We also have another photo from Raphael, and this is from Switzerland, and I think the only things that I'm bothered about are this right here, this blown out area, as well as the fact that the color temperature between the mountain and the sky don't match. So we have this very greenish tint to the sky here, and then a very purplish tint in the snow. And that's kind of throwing me off a little bit. And maybe as well, I would love to see what it looked like if the mountain here was kind of more centered. So if I put this right smack dab in the center, and kind of, or you can just crop in. So if you cropped in just like that, so, oh, my pen's gone. So if we cropped in just like that a little bit, I think that could be a little bit more powerful. You know what? I'm gonna do that right now. Hold on. So that's what it looks like cropped. I think I like it better this way, just because I personally like things straight in the center. I think you were going for like a thirds kind of thing before, but for something like this where the mountain's so prominent, having it just straight smack dab in the middle will make the image a little bit more powerful. All right, next up we have a photo from John. Now this is super cool. It looks like it was shot somewhere in Africa. We have two people right here having a conversation, and then we have this person here hiding her face. There's definitely a story going on somewhere here, but for me, I think what would make this image a little bit more powerful is if we placed more emphasis on these people, because the thing is with her is that she's hiding her face, and we usually recognize faces very easily, so we would immediately just look at the face, which I can see here and here, but I can't see her face. So what I did here was I actually brightened up the right side and I brightened up their faces, and then I darkened the left side here. So now immediately I'm looking at these two people having a conversation. I cannot draw arrows for the life of me. But now I'm staring at these two people and I know I'm supposed to look there first. I think for me the story is, oh, these two people are having a conversation, and then I looked left, I'm like, wait, there's a person being excluded and she's hiding her face. What is that all about? I think that's the narrative, so I would love to have my eyes follow that story. All right, next up we have Maxime. Now he's a very big supporter of mine. He always comments on my work, so shout out to my boy Maxime. And we have this awesome drone shot. Now it looks like a maze and it looks really cool, and we have, I think this is a red umbrella right over here, and I love the idea of it. I just think that it would be more powerful if the umbrella was in the middle. Or you could even just leave it out and just keep the shot abstract and just have textures. I think that would be really cool as well. So I took the liberty of kind of moving him in Photoshop, and this is what it looks like. So I basically just moved the umbrella a little bit. I darkened the area around the umbrella and I kind of cropped in a little bit. So I think this is a little bit more powerful than just having him far on the right hand side. It's a little bit more centered and I know exactly where to look. All right, here we have a shot from Anish, and I believe I met him in India like 2 years ago, 2018. I met him in India, which is crazy. And he submitted a photo for me to critique, which is super cool. So I love this image. I freaking love it so much. I think it's really cool. The light's coming in from this direction here, and we have the shadows coming in the background, and he's looking up towards the light source, but his face isn't blown out, so that's really cool. And I love how the guitar also follows along with the way that the shadows are falling, so everything's kind of going down in a certain direction, and that's really cool. Now I think if he put the guitar here like this way, it would completely cut and disrupt the image, so good on you for putting the guitar in this direction. All right, so now we have something a little bit different. We have a couples shoot, and this is from Ashley, and I really think this is super cute. It's a beautiful setting. I love the setting, the vines and everything. Beautiful contrast between the red and greens, complementary colors, and I love how the door frames them. Now the things that I would kind of change are the fact that it's so wide and there's no depth. I think that I'm kind of lost in looking for the subject. I mean, I know it's them, but my eyes don't really jump to them right away. So I would kind of crop in a little bit, and I would love to see this straightened out. So this here is a little bit slanted, and I would love to have them just centered along with the door here. So they're a little bit off, and I would also just crop in. So I took the liberty of doing that in Photoshop, and I applied my own presets on there as well. So this is what it looks like here. So yeah, that's kind of it. Again, I would love to put them just smack dab right in the middle, and that'll make this image a lot stronger. Or even put them out, so like away from the door, and when you shoot it like that, it's gonna bring the background slightly out of focus, and they're going to be in focus, and it's gonna create this like dreamy look. Or you can get really close and just go wide, but also like step a little bit closer to them so that they take up most of the frame. So our next photo here, I don't think it's anything insane, but it was shot on an iPhone. And I think that is what makes this image so great. The fact that you don't need a very expensive camera to capture something so beautiful. And here we have a little bit of motion blur on the dolphins, going along with the dolphins, and that just adds even more to the image, a sense of motion. And that's very awesome that you can do that on an iPhone. So shout out to the photographer Maya who captured this. She shoots everything on iPhone, and she showed me a couple of other photos, and they're all beautifully edited. Like, I think the edit on this is wonderful, and the subject is really cool, dolphins. I mean, you don't always see dolphins around. And she used a slow shutter speed, or unintentionally even used a slow shutter speed to convey motion. So overall, beautiful image, and I would love to have that like framed somewhere, to be honest, even if it was shot on an iPhone. So you don't need expensive equipment to create great, beautiful shots. This image is actually from one of the most beautiful places on earth. I believe this is Bali, as I've been here so many times. It looks like Bali. And it's a really cool shot. So a couple of things that I'm noticing is that I'm losing so much texture in the grass. There's no texture at all. So there's no contrast. I think you might have dropped or raised the luminance on the greens, and then everything just kind of looks a little bit too flat for me. I love the idea of using a wide angle to capture everything, but having this guy here look this way is really distracting for me because I think this is your subject, the tree. It's the one thing that stands out so much. And this guy here is just looking completely away, and I'm like, where is he looking? And then I kind of just, my eyes immediately just leave the photo, and now I'm disinterested. So either remove him or have him look at the tree. I also think the greens are a little bit too blue. I've never seen greens like that ever in real life. It's usually a little bit more yellow. So I took the liberty of getting rid of that color tint, and I didn't do a sky replacement, but I would 100% replace the sky as well, or shoot it on a day where it's a little bit more not as cloudy. I also moved the tree a little bit, so it was originally slightly out of the center line, so I just kind of moved it towards the center. And yeah, so you can see now there's so much more contrast in the grass, and that's gonna make it look a little bit more, it's gonna create a little bit more depth in the image. All right, so this image here, this is really funny. I actually live in the city where that building is, and I think that's the Museum of Nature or History or Civilization, one of the museums in Ottawa. And I went to prom there, so that building means a lot to me. Very, very cool use of lines here. I love how the shadow line matches the line of the building. Really cool repetition with the doors here. I would definitely imagine seeing this at IKEA. Like, I could buy this at IKEA. So there's no doubt that this is a very, very well created image. It's very beautiful. But for me, it's like, oh, that's nice, and then I'm kind of gone. You know what I mean? I don't think there's enough interest. It's a very beautiful abstract photo, but I personally am not interested in abstract photography. And in terms of architectural photography, I think we need to highlight the unique feature of it, which is the curves. So I would love to see a little bit more of the curves being emphasized a little bit here. I'm losing all of these curves in the shadows here. So maybe use a dodge and burn tool in Photoshop to bring them out. But other than that, I think it's very powerful. Yeah, like all these lines here are kind of just gone. And I think that's what makes this building so unique. So maybe play around a little bit more with the contrast, but it's a very beautiful shot. For this image, I love the use of frames. I love this idea of having the window, or not window, this arch frame the church or Duomo, whatever that thing's called. And I love having the subject looking at it. Now, for me, the big thing about, okay, there's two things. One, all of this space right here is uninteresting to me. So I don't really need this space. And there's also a piece of garbage right here. I'm noticing a phone sticking out of her pocket, and overall her posture is just showing a little bit of disinterest. So she's sitting down, she's not engaging with the subject, or the background, sorry, and she's slouching. She just looks disinterested, and now I'm disinterested. I think what could be really powerful is having the church in the background focused and her not. Or if she is the subject, then have her be a little bit more interesting. So she could be like looking out the window, a little bit more engaged, maybe put on a nice dress. And obviously for shots like this, I think you're just in the moment. You're like, hey friend, sit down. Or girlfriend, sit down, enjoy this view, and I'll take a photo of you. So if it's that, then yeah, this is perfect. But if you want to make it from amateur to professional, I would highly suggest kind of setting up the shot. So next up, we have this amazing shot from, I believe, Norway, and it's just a gorgeous sky here. Look at that sky. And we have this amazing golden light coming in, so you really chose the right time of the day to shoot this. And overall, I think it's just really well exposed, and you chose the right location, the right lighting, and the composition is pretty great. Now, the one thing I would love to see is just shifting the image up a little bit up, just ever so slightly. So if I draw a line right here and right here, you'll see that I think this is your subject, the mountains and the houses. They're on the lower bottom of the image. Now, I would love to have this centered. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift that up a little bit, and voila. I think this, for me, I like this a little bit better. I think everything has its own section and they're a little bit more even. So yeah, overall, great shot. All right, this is our last image for the critique. Now, I really want to go here. This is Machu Picchu, one of the world's 7 wonders, I believe. And I've been wanting to go here forever. And I think I want to go for my birthday this year in October. So if you want to come hang out, come to Machu Picchu in October. And this is a very hard hike, I hear. Like you have to go on a mission to get to this spot for the right time. So in terms of lighting, I think it's a little overexposed, especially in the foreground area. And if you came like maybe an hour or two earlier, if you could, it would make the image a lot more unique, a lot more softer and everything. So also on the top, the subject, which is the runes in the back there and that mountain, is so close to the top, and that's going to make your image feel really restricted, a little bit kind of tight. And I mean, when I'm there, or when I get there one day, I think my feeling is going to be freedom and like, you know that Instagram pose when you like raise both your hands up, you're like, hey, and you get your friend to take a photo of you like that? Well, that's the feeling that I want when I go there. Now, when I look at this image, I don't feel that because everything is so tight and I feel crammed. So that's my take on the photo here, and all I did was I added some space on the top so it wouldn't feel as crammed, and I did a sky replacement. I brought the exposure down and the luminance from the greens down, and I saturated the greens a little bit more, and I also added a radio filter around the image to darken the edges so that the viewer's eyes are drawn into the subject, which are the runes in the mountains. And I also applied my presets on top of that to give it a very nice look, and did the Orton effect to create this kind of glow for the image. And that's basically what I did. So yeah, I didn't have a raw image to work with. All I did was play around with the JPEG version. So yeah, that's basically what I came up with. So that does it for this YouTube video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something new through all the feedback that I gave. And for those who submitted their photos, huge thank you to you, because I would not be able to do this video without you. And you literally risked being judged online by a random person. So bravo, thank you so much. And I'd love to see what you come up with next time. So once again, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next week.